Welcome, everybody, this chilly, damp evening. Um, the It's hard for me not to start off with accolades, but maybe we can leave those to later. I did try to infer some of that in the email I sent this afternoon. You may not have seen it yet. But anyway, on the chair's report, there too, I think because I'll deal with that at the very end of the meeting. I think the most not important, I wouldn't say, but one of the greatest strides that I think we've seen here lately is the result of members' actions, certainly is the climate smart community's effort on the part of the county. And it is just amazing beyond all belief that you folks have been successful. But it's not, we can't stop there because it's not just us. It's those on the board, those supervisors that you brought on board. That's what made it work, and that's fantastic. David, do you have more with respect to updating that issue?
Sure. It's nice of you to say that. I think it was very. It was a great group effort, and I was surprised that it happened so smoothly and so quickly. I expected, based on prior comments about the Board of Supervisors and kind of how local politics seems to work here, that it would have been more of an issue. And I think it's just a testament to the fact that there was a lot of grassroots support from the town. There was a lot of the folks on this call generated letters of support from their supervisors and their town boards and their CSC committees, and that makes a big difference. And we tried to characterize it in a way that was less likely to be divisive. And I think that's a good lesson for a lot of things that we're working on these days, which is, where are the areas of alignment? Let's focus on those, and let's try to put our own kind of agenda or lexicon or typical way of talking about things a little bit to the side, or try to mute things a bit. And we happen to be fortunate to have folks like Ron Knott and others who maybe wouldn't be considered typical allies, but who understand the value of energy efficiency and making our towns as efficient as possible. So kudos to everyone here, and the real work is yet to begin. That's the part. Yeah, and I think when we look at this, it's a program that's a framework that has actions and points and color levels, and I know that the Lifeboats project is really trying to get these towns to all become bronze if possible. That is great. And if the county becomes bronze or silver, that's great. But for me, it's really, what are the action items that resonate the most, that are the most relevant to our community, that we can rally people around? We can get kind of bipartisan broad support. And let's work on those issues. There's so many actions. There's so many things we could be working on. Let's start with the things that people want to, that will save us money, that will help address other needs for the government in terms of planning, in terms of dealing with pre-existing issues. And then, I think we'll build a lot of trust and a lot of support through that effort. I think the next 6. So where are we at? We're organizing now. There's a working group. This is not the climate force, which the program calls for, but it's kind of a preliminary working group of 4 or 5 supervisors and 4 or 5 of us from the EMC who have met a couple times and helped to kind of develop the resolution and shepherd that through. And we're meeting in December. The date is to be determined. We had a Google Doodle poll. So hopefully in the next couple of days, and that will be the first step of, okay, what do we need to do now that we've gotten past this hurdle? And I believe it will be registering with the state and figuring out what our next steps on an action plan are, and thinking about who that task force, that more permanent task force, should be comprised of. So that's kind of where we're at. It's early days, and I want to thank everyone here, and I look forward to working with everyone here and keep, we keep moving forward. I do think that there's a great relationship between the county and the towns, and that is, after all, how our form of government in our county works, for better or for worse. And so there's great potential synergy between a collective of towns and the county itself. And so I do think we should really focus and continue focusing on what are the most important priorities for individual towns or communities throughout the county, and not get too caught up with what's a broad county agenda, and let the ideas percolate up from the towns. Let us be informed by what people in those communities who are already active and working on what they want to do more of. Maybe they have been limited in their ability to do more because the scope was bigger than the town could handle, and we can then take a discussion and carry it forward. So those are my initial thoughts, and we carry on.
Very good. Thank you.
Very good.
All right. Anybody else on that issue? Okay, terrific. Is there anything new with respect to Zero Waste Columbia?
No updates currently, Ed. Thank you.
All right.
Kara, can I just throw something in here though?
Sure.
So I finally tracked down Judith Ank at Beyond Plastics, and it was asking her about what, does she have recommendations for what counties could do to further that agenda? And she said, no, they really have not focused on a county level. It's more federal and state, but that she really urged us to take up composting as one of the big issues of a way to deal with solid waste problems. And she thinks countywide composting would be a worthwhile goal for some group, Zero Waste, EMC, something like that. So I just throw that out there.
Well,
No,
that's
absolutely.
one of the actions.
To
It's
your
also,
point, we sent out a survey after the last event that we had, and composting was one item that was identified by those people that responded to the survey as being a top priority. So to your point, we have a zero waste meeting December 9th. So we'll be strategizing, and I'm sure I'll have more to relate back, as Christian might, the next meeting.
Okay, very good. Terrific, Karen. And Rick?
Christian, do you want to add something? I heard Christian's voice there.
just what you did.
Okay.
That's it, Christian?
Oh, Ed, excuse me.
Except I would just mention that was, it's interesting that Rick mentioned it. As Cara said, it was one of the strongest responses that we got in our public presentation through the Calvert Library in a survey. That's what people responded most to. It's also what moved me most to support this initiative in the county when John Bradley pointed out the number of the action points that relate to food scraps. And to me, putting that in conjunction with what I've learned when I was working with the biodigester group, that the farmers in this county have a real need for fertility inputs. They're bringing them in from outside. We're exporting money to import food. Most of the food eaten in the county is imported. Amongst that is a lot of valuable fertility that we could be capturing and getting to our farms. I think it's a really important vision that fits right in with many of the action items, channels in the climate smart communities.
Wow, that's interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very good. Terrific. So let's keep that on the agenda. Let's not lose that.
Ed, did we miss the minutes?
Yes, you sure did. Yes, we did have, I apologize, everybody. We do have minutes from last month, the 26th. I'm trying to get them up front here. Here we go. All right. The minutes from the October meeting, 26th meeting, I believe. Maureen distributed them to everybody. Everybody had the opportunity to read them, peruse them,
Yes.
look to see if they needed changes. But before we even start, we have a motion to adopt the minutes. Then we can talk about the other. From
I so
someone?
move.
Okay, do we have a-
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Now, does anybody have any suggested changes or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, call the vote. All those in favor of adopting the minutes from October 26th, say so by saying aye or show your hand or
Aye.
Aye.
whatever. All right. Sounded unanimous to me. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Maureen.
You're welcome.
Solar installations. Holy smoke, talk about hot issues. But not so much around here, but it countywide. And I don't know, there's been an awful lot, it seems to me, on TV with respect to this issue and whether it is financially beneficial to homeowners since they don't get paid for their additional juice that they create. So I don't know where it is holistically, but we know a little bit about where it is with respect to the county and Copay. So I don't know much more than what was in the newspaper. So
I don't know. I just ran into some people that live near there, and it's really going to affect their lifestyle. It's just way too big for the for where it is. They saw like a rendering of what it would look like, and it just totally changes the whole area. So,
500 acres is not a size of a dime.
no, it's
The,
humongous.
500 acres is enormous.
Ed is, Hillsdale is the neighboring community, and from the latest newspaper, it's due to a cost benefit analysis. I believe it's gone from 500 to 900 acres.
Wow.
Nine.
The solar lighting, I think it's 500 on 900 acres
Right, that's my understanding.
distributed.
The total piece of property is 900, the portion that'll be
Well,
built.
apparently there's been additional real estate added to the original project.
Huh.
Across the major route that was originally intended. So people are selling out.
Okay, well,
Well, the activist in me once again speaks up and says, is there a place for us, the Environmental Management Council, to have an opinion on this subject? Because it isn't just the visual effect, it's the loss of the visual,
See,
on and on and on. So many.
I'm gonna be, maybe I'll be the, not devil's advocate, but more of a proponent of, I understand some of the objections, but, I mean, I have a couple of questions that I think we should think about, especially if we're going to, consider potentially not supporting a project like this. One is how else are we going to mitigate our energy use in this county? And on the agricultural side, there are some agriculture, it's currently, as I understand, used for grazing. It can't be used for cattle grazing, but it still can be used for grazing of sheep or some other types of livestock. So it doesn't completely, and it can also be used for, we can push for things like pollinator, growing for pollen, growing pollinators on pollen, landscaping for pollinators. I knew I'd get it out. I'll just say pollinators over and over again until you understand what I'm saying. But anyway, it is large, but it's I mean, the positive of solar on agriculture is that if the farmer isn't farming or wants to do this, that it's a way that that the land will continue to be undeveloped. I mean, if the farmer wants to sell the alternative, but subdividing or or developing it in some other way, which would put it out of agricultural use forever or for the foreseeable future. And this actually preserves it. And once it gets the end of its useful life, there is, like with any other major, power facility, there's an end of life plan. It needs to be removed and returned to its former condition. So it's, I mean, and in the meantime, the soil can be augmented. I mean, so there are a lot of benefits to it. And, if we don't build things of this size throughout the state, we're never going to hit our goals of, carbon neutral by 2050. It's just so important and centrally important, I think, to our future, that we want to think really, really carefully before, being too
I'd like
critical
to,
of something like this.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'd
go
like
ahead.
to second what Sarah is saying. I feel we're at the point with climate change where you put solar and wind power and tidal power wherever the data tells you to put it. And, as Sarah points out, nothing is permanent in this world except Mother Nature. So,
Yeah, well, I'll put in my my note along with the two of them. This is a project that once it's built will generate no truck traffic, no commuters from suburban housing. It will, I think, other than the initial visual annoyance, it'll have a benign effect on the region. The water that falls on that property will essentially fall right off the panels and into the soil. The pollinators and other flora and fauna that will be on that property will be able to do what they need to do. And from the landowner's point of view, the farmer's point of view, it's an income stream there that is going to be hard to come by otherwise. The amount of money that can be raised with dairy farming or any other kind of farming is always a risky business, but this will provide a relatively guaranteed stream of income for them for quite a while to come. So I think this makes a lot of sense for the property owners. Now, certainly, the electricity generated goes into the grid. It's not specifically targeted at the neighbors or anybody else in Columbia County. It's operating at the high voltage level, and so the users of that electricity can be anywhere in the utility zone that it's located in, which could be several hundred miles away. But I think, as my two colleagues here have said, this is a collective benefit. This is something that we need to do somewhere, and I think this is worth considering. Now, the other thing about this, though, is that the company is organizing a series of public education outreach. I haven't seen the rendering of it, but I saw in the Columbia paper just the other day that there is scheduled fairly soon a online event at which they'll have a more elaborate presentation about the nature of the project as it has been evolved, and will allow for some more public feedback.
I'd like to make a comment as well. In our town, we had we went through a zoning revision a few years ago, and went through quite a lot to sort through the solar aspects. And and after a lot of research, one of the provisions in our town zoning law is that commercial solar isn't permitted on soils on what's called prime soils. Prime agricultural soils is a designation for particular soils in the county. It's a very limited resource. I feel strongly about the need for solar. I also feel that I often encounter a one-sided overemphasis on solar as such. This is prime soils. Yes, agriculture as it exists today commercially is very challenging. That's a sickness in this society that needs to be overcome. And I feel that it's extremely short-sighted to pave over, glass over prime soils in this county when what we need to be doing is developing local agriculture. That is one of the most that's been identified, though it doesn't get nearly enough press, but it's been identified as one of the most important responses to climate change. Yeah, we need healthy soils. Healthy plant life is a part of what ameliorates what happens with the climate change that we're not going to be able to ameliorate in the near future. We're not going to be able to stop it. We've got to ameliorate there will be in the future more and more importance of local agriculture and locally grown food. Right now, as I mentioned, we export tremendous amounts of money from this county to bring in food while we've got some excellent farmland. I'm sorry, but a picture of pollinators, they're sure in the little room that's left, put in some pollinators. But it's minuscule, and there have been solar installations that have been designed for minimal impact on agriculture. It can be done, but I have seen no sign or interest in this group for doing that. It means putting the panels up on poles. It means more spacing. It can be done, but I don't see any interest in this group. We need it placed elsewhere than on prime agricultural soil. So it's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Christian. And Christian, I must say, I fully agree with you and support your position. But where's the sequestration if we almost cover the ground with glass? Where does the sequestration occur? I thought we were concerned about CO2, right? Yes, we need electricity, okay? But we need to try to control the amount of CO2 in the air that's driving up the atmospheric temperature. Isn't that the real target here? You know, come on. I think this is absolutely outrageous. I must admit, I'm a part-time farmer. I believe in farming. I believe, as Christian says, there's a room for a lot more. And as time goes by, as he says, because we're running out of food. We're running out of land, for God's sake. Don't we even acknowledge that? And on the surface of this earth, we're running out of livable space. That's what we're doing. Sure, David.
Thanks, Ed, and thanks, Christian, and everyone for the comments. A good discussion. Sequestration is something we need to do, and we can do a lot of with our forestry and better agricultural practice in this county. But it's separate and apart from reducing fossil fuel emissions by offsetting with renewable energy, which is what this is about. We need both. And
so we need it on junk soil.
Well, let's just hold on a sec, Christian. I just want to make my point. There's a debate to be had about where to have it, but obviously we need a scale and magnitude of solar and wind and other renewables that we've never seen before. And in terms of the agricultural issues, I'm also sensitive to the need to protect important agricultural soils. However, our zoning laws in this county don't distinguish and differentiate between whether a farmer wants to sell their farm and unprime soils and subdivide it. No one would stop them from doing that. And that's a huge issue. The fact that Sarah made earlier, which is that this is not permanent. Yeah, 20, 25 years. But if right now, let's say a farm is on prime soils, but let's say it's in conventional corn and the soil's being left bare every single year and it's being grown on chemicals every year, that conventional corn. Same crop for 20 years. I see these fields all over the place. Doesn't matter whether that's on prime soil to a map, USDA, or not. You're talking about a major emitter of carbon because you're just simply oxidizing the soil every time you plow it, and you're never putting a cover crop on it. Again, there are plenty of examples of prime soil that are doing that. Now, I don't think Ed or Christian or anyone else is supporting that. Of course, we want to have good farming on prime soils, but subdivision permanent and these other activities that are pervasive have massive impact on soil ecology and climate. If those farms don't change and start practicing more climate-friendly carbon sequestration. So I think on this project, though, if we are to come out and have an opinion, a formal opinion, we need to either be a formal party to the process, which we haven't signed up for that. There are some other groups like CLC who are doing that. And we need to follow details of the proposal. We articulate a position if we're going to do this, which would take quite a bit of work, where we would have to look at all of the environmental impacts, all of the mitigation, all of the concerns, all of including the impact on prime soils and whether there's a reclamation bond and whether that bond is sufficient to reclaim the land after 25 years so that soil is not polluted or denuded from the industrial activity that certainly is. It's very complicated, but I would just say that if we want to come out, and I think everyone has a valid perspective here that far, but if we want to come out as a body, quite a bit of work to do.
I agree. I agree.
It sounds to me like we need an EMC representative from the town of Copeg to keep up to date on the latest, which we don't have.
I would like to suggest
How do we do that?
that we have no need to take a position on this.
Okay, that's fine with me.
How do we get the, like, I know that CLC is like an interested party and they get all the information and they could attend meetings. Can EMC be, I don't even know what the title is, what they are, but is there a way we could be involved in just knowing what's going on at a deeper level?
That's Columbia Land Conservancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what?
Sorry.
Go
ahead.
No, I was going to say, I've been needing to get in touch with Troy, so I could ask him what that status is. I think it might be valuable for this group to also achieve that status.
To get
I
in touch with them?
Beth is doing the work with CLC, but I don't know what the status is. But I know that she is involved.
Yeah, Beth and Christine, and I think that yeah, it'd be great, Rick, if you followed up and found out where they're at in their process. You even ask whether or not a group like could still sign up as a party to the proceeding. I'm not sure we want to do that. It's quite a bit of work. I don't know who would do that work. We'd have to be clear about whether we're committing to that. But probably a second level of it where we could just follow it more closely. If we could have maybe a subcommittee of people that wanted to attend some of these public meetings, follow up with some of the other parties, talk to some of the people in the towns that are following it closely, and we could become more informed. I know that, for example, CLC looked at the resources. It submitted a letter early on, and it looked at the resources that are at risk here, the watershed, the wildlife, and it just talked about how those concerns need to be fully evaluated as part of this process. So it was saying, here are really important natural resources in the area. This is why this is an important area. It's not the aesthetic, although that's obviously important. And just laying it out on the table that the environmental impact statement and assessment and the process and the mitigation measures that are alternatives that are considered need to consider very seriously those resources.
Yeah.
So I think starting with CLC and then talking to some of the folks in towns and getting more information. But if we want to really follow this closely, and I think we should if we can, then we just need some people that are going to step up and say, yes, I'll attend some meetings and I'll brief the group every month on what's happening. But I would
Very good.
Comment?
Hi, everyone. This is Colleen. I just thought I'd let you know I have seen a rendering of the actual site plan through my position at work. It is massive. It will certainly impact the area. But I think everyone has really, really valid points from both sides of the argument.
I agree.
And I would be happy to kind of attend some of the meetings in Copake. I live fairly close to there, being in Ankrum. And I also know Copake's town supervisor, so I can kind of find out how they're doing and going through the process. But I do know it is currently it must be at the seeker step, because they've already submitted a request to Heritage for information for ecological resources. So, but it is massive. And I think with a lot of planning projects and a lot of large projects like this, the developer comes in with they're asking for the moon, probably not expecting to get that. And so I'm wondering if eventually there may be a scaled back version of this that might be more amenable to all the parties involved. But again, to what Sarah was saying, if we want to become, a renewable energy state by the governor's guidelines, more of these types of projects are going to be coming down the pipe. I see them a lot. Again, at my position at Heritage, this is not unique to Copake. This is all around the state. So I guess we have to be prepared for that. And siting is going to be crucial. But it's also an investment in renewable energy and reducing CO2 emissions. So, but I would be happy to kind of put my ears to the ground and listen and see what I can find out and report back to the committee monthly, and let you know where they're at.
Can I just throw another
Thank
2
you,
cents?
Colleen.
Kyle?
Rick,
Yeah, I just want to point out that if, I don't know if everybody saw it or not, but probably not. There was a Times Union article talking about the fact that there's another big facility going out by Canajoharie and another one out by Rochester. And those are being celebrated by the local communities, whereas the ones in Columbia and Greene County are being opposed. And I just found that of interest.
Well, it's a matter of site specificity.
yeah,
The fact that an abstract mega facility in one town is supported. What kind of soil is it on? What's the condition here? I've got one final comment that I personally feel it's important to carry into this kind of conversation. I've heard a couple of supporting arguments that were based on what's called raising specters. Okay, it's negative imaginations that aren't real, but they might be, right? The worst possible scenario is that the land, in one sense, in regards to agriculture and climate mitigation, the worst possible scenarios are it stays in industrial corn production or it gets subdivided. All right, both of those are specters. They're not real. It could happen,
So,
but excuse me, to my mind, my humble opinion, it's a terrible way to make decisions when to place our energy in one of the things that struck me about the Environmental Management Council is that we almost never talk about the environment in Columbia County as a lived environment. Actual places is almost never a topic of conversation. I would like to hear us talking about enhancing the lived environment in Columbia County and what could be done to turn farmers from industrial corn production to the kind of food that would actually support people and give nutrition. There's no nutrition in that corn that comes off of those farms, right? It's a part of what is the COVID supposed epidemic right now is much a matter of ill health because people are eating food that has no nutrition in it that's coming off of industrial corn production, for instance. So that's a real problem. You don't solve that problem by putting in solar collectors on prime soil. We should be doing what we can to get good food production on prime soils. The reason they want to go there is it's going to be cheaper for them. They can make more money doing it there. There is plenty of bad soil in Columbia County. There are plenty of places in Columbia County that are not amenable to agriculture. Put the collectors there. That's where they belong. End of my piece. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. I would suggest
Christian,
that as Dave, Rick?
yeah, sorry, Ed. Christian, I didn't really appreciate the Spectre comment because you used it as well. So hello, pot, I'm the kettle.
Okay.
Tell me how. I don't see
We'll
that.
Christian, if you want to pick it up, we can take it offline.
That's it, guys. But one thing that's very clear to me, and I think, as David said before, this is a very, I say, healthy discussion. And I may have told you before, I sat for almost 8 years in the town of Kinderhook as chairman of the planning board in front of that bulldozer. And the bulldozers kept coming from different angles. And for example, that project that's up there, you know how many years we had them sitting standing still while we reviewed it and improved it? 4 years. 4 years, which I think was appropriate. Okay, we preserved at the time a view to the Catskills to the west. Who ever gives a damn about the view of the Catskills towards the west for a commercial setting or a commercial operation? Nobody else gives a damn. We did give a damn. We gave a damn about traffic. First roundabout in the county goes on and on, but it's complicated. David's right on. And that there's so many facets to this, but I must vehemently agree with Christian. Prime soils. Here, I'm lucky. What we purchased here in the 70s, a large part of it's prime soils. And our ag exemption with respect to the use of this land comes from the fact that a large proportion, because they measured, it's all on maps, they measure the amount of prime soils. So at some point in the history of the state or the United States, we seem to have an interest in prime soils. Where I grew up over there on Fisher Road, when we first came there, everything was wide open and people were farming the land. But what were they farming it with? They're farming it with horses because tractors couldn't stay upright on the side hills. So there's side hills that today are covered with crappy brush and trees and so forth that would lend itself to solar arrays. And there's other areas. There's bony areas. There's areas where rock is exposed. It's a complicated issue. And developers usually come in, concern themselves with that. They don't give a rat's ass. I'm sorry. That's my opinion. Anyway, once again, I think it's a good discussion. I think we should move on. I think, too, we should make sure that for those solar farms, if you will, that we have, that they become listed on our webpage. We're not going to do D because sometime or something, maybe the state might do something. CCL News. Why, Michael, why did we say that? Oh, I know what that is. That goes back to A, forget it. NRH training, Terry could not be with us tonight, but I know she's working on that. Media reports, I think too, we're the light under the bushel here, okay? And I don't think we get nearly as much press that we should. Our concerns don't get shared. All those concerns that have been expressed here tonight, people should be aware of them. No, they really should. I don't think you know that. Tara here somewhere, I think.
Can you hear me?
Tara, still with us?
She's trying to talk to us.
Why I can't?
Oh,
hear
there
you
she is.
now.
Turn your volume up.
Uh,
On your computer, maybe?
nope. Can you hear me? No.
I can hear you.
Oh, you can?
A little bit. We can hear you. Your volume very low.
Maybe it's the microphone. I just wanted to add to that discussion that was going on. Just another little inject in this is that right now there's an overwhelming number of sewage system applications for folks who are buying properties. I know there's one major subdivision proposed. There might be a couple minor subdivisions, and there's well over 50 single lot subdivisions. There's an influx of people moving into the area again, like we saw after 9/11. So I think it's important that all of the interests are protected, and overall land development is being looked at the county level. The town planning boards have a tough job, but if nobody's looking at the county as a whole in development, some towns might get a little heavier on one end than others, and you just have to look at it from a holistic approach. I think from all of those different aspects. But I just wanted to put that in there. Our engineer can't keep up with all the applications he's getting. There's a cutoff of October 1st for us to be able to guarantee to get out to someone to, either approve a septic system or not. And he's not going to be able to get to all these. They keep coming in. So there's a lot of people moving into the area and buying property to build. So that probably.
Thank you, Tara. Anything else? Anything else, Tara?
I was just going to mention our cases of COVID are on the increase. Today was just 6 new ones. We've been in the double digits the last week or so, and there's that fear of a surge after Thanksgiving between about December 1st and December 10th. So we're trying to be prepared for that. We're continuing our COVID test clinics, not every week, but we're doing them. And they're working on a vaccine distribution plan when the time comes. So I don't know too many details. I just know it's being worked on. So.
Thank you. Unfortunately, I got an opinion with respect to this and every other darn thing that exists. The other day, unfortunately, it's sitting laying here aching like crazy, and I have to have on the boob tube. And there's one of the smilers, the female smilers that come on in the midday, and she expressed the opinion that her birthday was coming up, and she was going to invite 200 people to her birthday party. Folks, that is part of the problem. And the governor talks about it. A lot of people talk about it. Look what's going on down in Rockland County. Oh, for God's sake, you got to be kidding. What are those people doing? Well, they don't give a damn. They're not going to change. So I don't know what the rest of us are going to do. I guess we could be saved by a simple inoculation, right? Too bad we can't inoculate civility and care for others at the same time. That'd be good if we could do that, I guess. So, anyway.
Well, on that note, our sheriff's department posted on Nextdoor and Facebook today on community boards and on Nextdoor, which is a neighborhood app, that they would not be policing Thanksgiving and group gatherings. But with that, they didn't expound onto, we caution the public about public gatherings. It was just a blanket statement that they would not be policing. So it's unfortunate.
It'd be
Yeah.
interesting to actually engage in a conversation exploring the science behind this, the testing and death rates overall, but I think it would probably further than this group wants to go. If not, I'd be happy to jump in, but figure that we're going to be here for a long time.
Yeah, I think you're right, Christian. I think you're right. And you probably saw that I happen to be part of one of those groups on the police reform, one of the 3 police reform citizens groups. And unfortunately, the newspaper got what I had said about the environment all screwed up. What I had said was, lastly, watch for acts behavior which is detrimental to the environment. If in doubt, contact DEC or environmental conservation officers. That's what I said, but that's not what saw the newspaper. Some years ago, we had one of the deputies here in the county. His sole responsibility was to make sure, walk around, and be concerned about the environment. But I think he retired, so that was the end of that. Anybody have anything else? There was another issue now, which I've forgotten. Everybody's shying away. Anybody?
Neighborhood notification,
Pardon?
neighborhood notification laws? Were we gonna
Yes,
discuss?
yes. You're right. And we glossed over that. And I don't know that we have anything new with respect to that. I know it's been clear to me and what I hear from many of the members of the EMC that they seem to, let me put it this way, they seem to harbor an aversion for pesticides. And I'm not unfortunately, I don't make excuses for it, right? Yeah, I use pesticides, as do just about everybody that produces food that we eat and buy in the supermarkets. It is not grown organically. It isn't, right? Unless it's specifically stated that. So inadvertently or for whatever reason, we all consume pesticides. It's our responsibility to see to it that we don't consume some that have long-term negative effects. That's the real issue. That's the issue. And I believe, as some of you do, some of them do. Some of them have had long-term negative impacts. So anyway, so that's for me. I've spoken too much. Anybody, anything else? No?
I was just gonna share with the group that Germantown just got the green light to go ahead with our LWRP program, and we're doing our RFP for consultants right now. I'm on the subcommittee for that. And so anybody have any LWRP experience, let me know, because we're going to jump in. It's exciting.
What is LWRP?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the Local Waterfront Revitalization Program.
Oh, okay.
So it follows a 2-year study where a 235-page report was created to establish goals for the community based on a number of public meetings and research and talking to experts. And now we're in the role where we're really sort of codifying law. It's like a comprehensive plan for the waterfront. So it identifies boundaries and what can happen there and how it will connect with tourism and commerce and how it will create sustainable shorelines and biological methods for protecting and increasing our biodiversity. And it's got lots of levels. Some of it's historic, some of it's current, and some of it economic, some of it environmental. But yeah, it's on. So we're excited about that.
Congratulations. That's very exciting.
Yeah, it's
Long
good.
time
Good
coming.
stuff.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
that's,
Thank you.
And I can't help you with consultants, but I can, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. That program is in my portfolio at work, so. I
When
work
you
with
say you're at
Department of
Heritage,
State.
are you in where are you at Heritage?
I'm at the Department of State. I'm the director of the Office of Planning and Development.
Oh,
And
okay.
So that's our program. So I'm really thrilled to hear about it.
So just so everybody
Thank you.
knows, that's a big effing deal, Sarah's job. It's a big one across the state.
Yeah, I guess.
Rick.
You go, girl.
Thank you, Rick.
thank you all. Anybody have anything else? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
Second.
moved.
Second.
Oh, I seconded it before it got moved.
I guess that's it. All right.
All right.
Uh,
Happy
we'll-
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Are we
Thanksgiving.
meeting in December?
Yeah, that's it.
December
Ed, are we meeting in December or not?
Yes, it's Monday, December 28th.
Oh, really? After Christmas? Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Okay.
Be
Okay.
well, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Be
Good night, everybody.
Hi.
Take care. Be safe.
safe. Wear your masks.
Small gatherings, small.
Thank you, everybody.